Hello everybody, I'm in my garden this evening. It's not terribly warm, at least it's quiet here anyway. So today I'm going to talk about Stranger Things. Now, maybe one thing clear, I've only watched about 4 episodes so far, so I've no idea what happens in the future, so don't go any giving me big spoilers or anything. Just, if you have stuff to share in the comments, just make sure you restrict it to the first 4 episodes, please. After there isn't any more to it than what I talk about. So I discovered Stranger Things by chance. I was just browsing through Netflix one evening and looking for something to watch, and came across something. Said a young boy went missing. So anyway, reading the description, I thought it sounded interesting, and I gave it a watch, and that's exactly what it is. Very, very, very interesting. It's a very well developed show. The characters are all really well developed, and the relationships between the characters are all great. And it's never boring. Like, it keeps you guessing. Like, it's very unpredictable. Like, you have no idea what the real situation behind all the events of the show are yet. You know it. Know something out of the ordinary, very unconventional, and very fascinating as well. Now, Stranger Things takes place in the early 1980s, and the setting reminds me of E.T. actually, because it's the same kind of time period, and like E.T. it involves um, something normal or everyday people discovering things that are very out of the ordinary, out of this world. But anyway, we're not here to compare. I'm not here to compare the two. I'm here to Stranger Things E.T. I'm just here to talk about Stranger Things. Stranger Things begins with 4 young boys hanging out together one night. I mean, they're probably about 11 or so, and one of them, whose name is Will, has vanished the next morning, and then his mum played by his mum's name is Joyce, played by Winona Ryder. I think the only star in this show that who I was already familiar with, especially from Edward Scissorhands. God, she was so great in that wonderful film. So well acted and so beautiful. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about Edward Scissorhands. Here to talk about Stranger Things. So immediately you can feel her great panic and concern that she's lost her youngest son, and she describes him to the police. She says he's unusual or something, that he has friends and that, but they make fun of him, like they don't always treat him so well. So that makes him a very interesting character. Like, as little as we see of him, we know he's we can tell he's quite timid or shy or something, or maybe has some kind of special needs. Maybe he doesn't, I don't know. But I know he has to be a very interesting, sympathetic character anyway, and the way his disappearance has an effect on the community is done so effectively and so realistically and so well. Like, and the mother as well, if I want to write either Joyce, and she's a great character. Like, you can immediately feel all her pain and that. I mean, she eventually, when she's having no luck finding her son, she eventually starts hearing him. She doesn't know where he is, but she knows she can hear him through the walls or something. He's begging her for help, and I mean, she knows this seems all crazy and that everyone thinks she's crazy, but she doesn't care. She'll do whatever it takes to get her son back, and she never gives up, and that's what makes her such a sympathetic and memorable character. And anyway, the most interesting character of all of this show is the girl who's known as 11. She doesn't talk much, and she doesn't seem to understand what a lot of normal everyday words or terms mean. I mean, I find it unclear whether she's just a normal person, or whether she's like some kind of alien in human form, or whether she's some kind of scientific experiment or something. Because again, after only watching 4 episodes, I've no idea what to think is really going on. Like, I just know that there's bad guys that Eleven's on the run for, and it seems these bad guys are the same people who have taken Will. So it's up to her really to help the other characters just figure out where he is and why he's been taken, and how they get to him. But because she can't speak much English, it's hard for her to. She can't after I tell them, she has to give them hints and show them the way, and that's what makes the show so interesting and so dramatic as well. And she's a great character, very interesting, very mysterious, and very, very sympathetic. Like, you can tell that she's been at an extremely shit time. Like, these evil people have abused her, as shown in flashbacks. Now they're on. And even now she's still on the run from them. Like, she doesn't want to be stuck with them again. She wants to stop them from doing the same fate, giving Will the same face that they've given her. So It's very all well done, very dramatic and very emotional. So the next major character is one of Will's three friends, Mike. I mean, Mike is a brilliant character. Like I said before, apparently Will's friends picked on him or made fun of him or whatever. But Mike immediately shows that while for all we know this may be very true, he at the same time he's clearly a great friend to Will. Like he's extremely concerned about his safety and desperate to find him and to make sure he's safe. Like no matter what happens, he keeps this goal up. Like he never loses his determination to figure out what's going on, and that's why when they think they've found Will's body, even though they apparently haven't, something else is going on. But when they think they found Will's body in the dead body in the lake, and he goes home crying, it's legitimately heartbreaking. Because up until that time in the show, he had both never lost any faith or hope or anything, and he had never really shown any emotions that were his. Like I mean, they're all about either Will or Eleven. And speaking of Eleven, he and his their other two friends go out night time looking for Will when they're fed up with like the police and the adults and that not knowing what to do. So they're determined to make their own attempt, and they eventually discover her instead. And they take her back to Mike's basement, and while the other two boys, who are called Lucas and Dustin, are initially frightened and skeptical of her, Mike treats her with great sympathy. Like he offers they call her parents, and he lets her sleep in the basement, gives her shelter and that, and she seems to develop an immediate trust in him as well. Like she knows he'll never hurt her, and that he'll whatever she tells him, he'll give her whatever kind of help and support he can, and she knows that also that she can help him find his best friend, or one of his best friends anyway. And so eventually Mike and Evan, well, not eventually, very quickly, Mike and Eleven develop an extremely close bond and a huge amount of trust, which is another reason why the scene where they found they found Will dead is so heartbreaking, because it's like Mike feels betrayed by Eleven, and he thought he could trust her, but now he thinks he can't. And poor Eleven has lost the one person that she could rely on and trusted as well. So it's an extremely sad scene for her as well. And another good interesting character is Mike's older sister, Nancy. I mean, at first, when she was first introduced, I thought she was going to be this kind of snotty older sister, not very important. Like, when her mum didn't want her or any of her siblings to leave the house unsupervised because of what happened to Will, she complains that she can't go to her friend's house. Like, I mean, she seems more worried about that than about Will, which made her seem very unlikable. But actually, very very soon after that, we learned that we see that she's actually clearly a very kind, caring person, and she really is. No matter what she said before, she really is concerned for Will's safety, and she really is extremely hopeful that whoever ever is trying finds him. This is especially clear when she comforts Will's older brother Jonathan, who's about the same age in school. She tells him, "I'm sure we'll be fine." I mean, he's a smart kid, so she's really trying to keep his hope, keep him optimistic, and not to lose faith. And it made her very likable to me. And she also has these very relatable boy issues. Like she likes this one boy, and which is shown in a scene where they play the song "I Bless the Rains" down in Africa. Well, Africa by Toto. Very good song. Always liked it. And apparently, she eventually starts a romance with Jonathan, Will's brother, and I think that sounds perfect, because they're both interesting characters, and they seem like from that one, even as we've seen them together so far, it does seem like they'd be good together. And speaking of the brother Jonathan, I mean, he's a very likable and underrated and underdeveloped character. I think seems like he deserves to be a character with his own Wikipedia page, rather than just a paragraph in the list of characters of this show. And he was obviously a very supportive and loyal older brother to Will, because we see a very brief flashback where they listen to the Clash's "Should I Stay or Should I Go?", another brilliant song from that time period. And Will claims to like it, and Jonathan assures him, don't like things just because everyone says you're supposed to. Just like whatever you want to like. So Will clearly likes the song, and even though his friends, including Mike, seem to think it's weird, and he eventually uses it as a way to try and communicate with his mother and friends through walkie-talkies or whatever. And even small characters left an impact. I mean, those two school bullies who push Mike and Lucas and Dustin to the ground and that broke my heart. I mean, Mike seems like the sweetest boy ever, so watching him getting pushed around was heartbreaking. And also when they scoffed at the principal's memorial speech for Will at the school assembly, that made me just want to strangle and kill them. What an obnoxious brats out there they speak against a kid in their own school like that. I mean, they deserve far worse than what Mike and Eleven gave them afterwards, if you ask me. I mean, other kids, but they're just fictional. So I quite enjoy the idea of them falling to a horrible death off a cliff or something. I do hope they get, maybe not that, but I do hope they get something they deserve later on in the series. And Will and Nancy's mother, I mean, unfortunately she's a very underdeveloped character. I mean, she has like no personality of her own, and I don't even remember her name, but at the same time, but even as little as there is of her, she seems an extremely loving and supportive mother. Like, when Mike's trying to hide Eleven from his family, and she's like to him, well, you can always talk to me, like, don't feel you can't tell me anything you want, it's very understanding and supportive of her. And that made me seem like she was going to say, like, even if I get cross with you, it's only because I care about you, or something, like, or at least any of I feel, having told me will feel good for you afterwards, or something like that. Anyways, and she also seems like she was also a very good she's also a very good supportive mother to Nancy. Whenever Nancy comes home after a bad night with one of her boys or whatever, she's immediately there to ask her, what's wrong, it's also very nice. So what else is there to say about Stranger Things? One character who I absolutely couldn't care less about is Nancy and Mike's dad. I mean, all I remember about him is the scene where it's at the dinner table, and when Mike runs off because he thinks nobody else cares about Will, and the family cares about Will except him, and the mother scolds him, and she's like, "What did I do?" Which was pretty funny, but that's literally the only thing that adds brought to the show so far. I mean, you could have him be absent and nothing would change. Like, so I guess he's the one character that I absolutely couldn't care less about. And what do I think of Lucas and Dustin? Well, they're all right. I mean, they're good help, good supportive of Mike as he's trying to find Will. They also want to find him too. And even though they're skeptical of Eleven, it does seem like they're going to eventually become friends with her and want to eventually be good of help and support her. But they wouldn't be my first characters I'd remember from the show, to be honest. So and I don't really know where this show's going. Like, I don't know, what is this, like an alien outer space thing? Is it like some kind of worldly scientific thing, or is it something else altogether? I mean, I can only keep guessing what this whole situation really is, because again, I've only watched 4 episodes, but I know it's certainly something interesting anyway, and enough to make you want to keep watching more and more of the show. And the only thing I will say about the show is that it's not something to watch when you want cheering up, like, it's quite heavy and upsetting at times. So I'd say what I'd recommend is watch maybe 2 episodes at a time, then, and switch to like The Simpsons or Family Guy or SpongeBob or something to remind yourself how to laugh again. But if you're in the mood for something dark and that keeps you guessing, I definitely recommend Stranger Things. However, I do have just one major complaint about this show, just one, and that's how I've made it clear that Mike and Nancy are siblings. Well, I have to use the word siblings very loosely, because there's absolutely nothing brotherly or sisterly about them. I mean, they have absolutely no nice moments together whatsoever. I mean, it's bad enough they don't have any true scenes alone together, but they rarely have any scenes together full stop, or not even only that, but they barely even mention each other off screen. Like, I mean, what kind of siblings behave like that? Like, I mean, if you'd started watching the show after the first episode, you probably wouldn't even cough that they are siblings, like, And the closest they ever came to interacting with or even acknowledge, not only just interacting, but even acknowledging each other, was when Mike was giving out to her at the dinner table, because she was complaining about that she couldn't go to her friend's house, and he was accusing her of implying that Will's disappearance was his fault. I mean, and even the one very brief thing they've had together had to be a negative one. Like, at least if they had a difficult relationship or something, at least that would be some kind of sibling chemistry or whatever. I don't know whether sibling chemistry is don't know whether chemistry is the right word or not, but just use it anyway. I'll say sibling chemistry rather than just chemistry, if just chemistry sounds too romantic. Anyway, I literally felt far more sibling chemistry between Jonathan and Will in that one very brief flashback we listened to that song than I have in the whole show between Nancy and Will. Not Nancy and Will, Nancy and Mike. I mean, it just seems to me like they're both two of the show's main characters, and because they're siblings, there should be depth in their relationship. There's none of that whatsoever. Well, maybe there is later on the show. We only watch 4 episodes, so I'm hoping some of the later episodes will make up for that. But just based on the first 4 episodes, there's absolutely nothing in their relationship to be proud of. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's sweet how when Will breaks down after this. Sorry, I said Will again there, Mike. Don't get me wrong, it is touching how when Mike breaks down after Will's body has seemingly been found in the lake, and he goes home crying, and it is sweet how his mother hugs and comforts him. But either way, it's an extremely poignant moment. But it could have been more than just a poignant moment. It could have been an extremely powerful and memorable moment if they had it. But Nancy went up and hugged him instead of the mother. I mean, having to be the mother certainly warms my heart, but it doesn't by any means make my eyes watery or whatever. Whereas I think if it was Nancy that went up to Mike and Nancy, and hugged him as he cried, I think that would make my eyes watery. That would have made up. Even that would have made up for the fact that there's absolutely nothing else between them in the first 4 episodes. Or I could even forgive the writers for having it be the mother instead of Nancy. If there was other nice things, if there was other interesting things sibling things between Mike and Nancy in the show. I mean, if I could even just get one scene to show that those two are a loving brother and sister, that would really make my day. I mean, I'd probably keep watching that scene like twice a day for 2 weeks. I mean, it's very disappointing. Very disappointing depth in the relationship. Again, maybe too harsh because it's still only early on the show. Maybe there's much more of it later on. But I mean, we don't even get so much as a scene where in the following episode after they think they found Will's body, and where she knocks on the bedroom door to see how he's holding up or anything. Very ridiculous. I mean, he's her younger brother, and he's lost one of his best friends. You think she'd be concerned and she'd want to be around to support him? That, not out dealing with her own romances problems and all that. But again, apart from that, though, I still love Nancy's character as an individual, and Mike's. They're still great characters as individuals. It's just the relationship is fairly poorly done so far, I think. But thankfully, that's my only major criticism with this show. At the end of the day, Stranger Things is so worth the watch. I mean, it's just such a powerful show, and it makes me wish there were more shows like it. More shows with these kind of characters, more shows about all these different kids and their siblings and their parents and the drama going on with them. If you ask me, we need more TV dramas like that. And it's easy. Stranger Things easily has to be one of the best Netflix originals ever. And anyway, thank you all for watching, and you're all very welcome, particularly you, Harry Thomas. And I hope you, Harry Thomas, have watched and enjoyed the video, and that you'll share your thoughts. And you'll share some of your thoughts on my thoughts, whether you agree or disagree with some of them, or even just what you think of them in the comments. I mean, of course, I couldn't expect you to make a comment on every single point I made in the video, but if you would certainly share some of them, that would be brilliant. Alright, well, thank you all for watching, and this is just part 1, so whenever I watch more episodes of this show in the future, I'll do more and more. I'll talk more about those episodes as well in different videos, but that wraps up for part 1 of my thoughts on Stranger Things, and again, hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Have a good evening. Bye.